Alright, today we're going to learn how to paint this abstract style I call Dazzling Drips. So what is the history of graffiti? All right, let's run through the colors. Primary yellow, Indian yellow, Quin orange, pearly red, Van Dyke brown, ultramarine blue, Mars black, titanium white. All right, today we're going to work in a style with drips, so we'll see how that turns out. For this one, as out of the series of the four, it has the darkest, richest color, which is good. So we're going to add the next layers and see how that goes. This will be darker than the other ones, so maybe I might lighten it up to kind of equalize it out. We'll see. It's pretty wet. It's wetter than the other ones, I think, because it has a thicker paint coat. So we'll see. It might be too early to mix the colors, but we'll just try. We kind of have this nice whitewashed area here. This is a lot of grays. I kind of want to tone that back, add some reds, pull this red back in here with the yellow kind of popping. So we'll add a red and yellow gloss and see how this turns out. All right, for this painting, we kind of added in a lot of color, and what we're going to do back is bring back that drip color that we have kind of through here to kind of blend the two layers. So we'll add in a dark, a little bit gray, bring that gray back in to kind of cover up that red. It's a little bit dominant now. And we'll bring back in the burnt orange and then a very light version of what's in the middle. All right, we did the drips here. We kind of pulled that out. Now we want to kind of coat it back, to kind of blend it back in. So we're going to do kind of a reddish, kind of almost purple on the bottom and the top. And we'll do kind of a light haze through the middle to kind of make that pop between the light and the dark. So the history of graffiti dates back all the way to the Romans. The first sightings were kind of 1st century AD, going to the 4th century AD. So it's quite early on. It later spread to Syria, and obviously these are just kind of stone markings on the wall, people leaving kind of their signature behind, poems behind. You could almost say gravestones are kind of a form of graffiti in a way, except they're not illegal. And the modern version kind of came out with the invention of spray paint, which was early 1900s, but it was just really used commercially. And then later, artists really discovered it when they had the aerosol spray paint came out 1970s, and it really hit hard in New York with the subway system. And at first the people didn't know what to do about it. They kind of tolerated, then it got out of control and all the cars started getting covered. And with the illegal graffiti everywhere, it kind of increased the rate of crime, unfortunately, connected to graffiti. And so the New York police started to crack down on it in the 80s under Giuliani, which he's probably best known for besides his current role. But he kind of cleaned up New York, so to say, but that had to do with, you know, intensely going against graffiti, arresting artists, really kind of negative viewpoint towards graffiti artists. And from New York, it kind of spread from the 70s all over the world. They probably had taken off in other parts of the world as well, but New York was kind of the epicenter. Spread to LA. LA versus New York has its own style. Philadelphia has its own unique kind of tagging style. And so all these different cities around the world kind of formed their own styles. And at first, because they were isolated, they didn't really, they weren't global, these styles. They were really regionally dependent styles where they, you know, a particular crew would put together and they would form their own style for that particular gang. They were, well, not really gang, the police would call them gangs, but they're really crews. Sometimes they're involved with stealing paint, so that's where the legal part of it comes into, and illegally spraying it, of course, on people's property, so you get into vandalism. And the definition of vandalism is very different per country. New York, they went pretty hard on it. LA, because they had really a lot of graffiti, they went really extremely anti-graffiti. San Francisco, where I went, there was more tolerant of murals. And as well, you know, so you have kind of this variation in tolerance towards vandalism and the crimes applied towards graffiti writers. And this is more or less your quick view of graffiti writing. All right, we just finished the painting. Let's take a closer look. So it has this really nice kind of burgundy color with a little dark with the drips coming through. We whitened it up in the middle, of course, kind of toned down that extreme color variation. And same thing at the bottom, so I think this is pretty cool. I wasn't super excited about the drips. It kind of looks cool sometimes, and sometimes it looks very amateur. I think that's why I was reluctant to try this style again. I think this time it's more put together in the sense that it has some micro drips, little drips, and I've kind of toned it back in the final layer to make that drips not so clashing, I would say. I think it has a really cool abstract feel. There's a lot of cool texture to some areas of the painting, which is really nice. It's what you want. We got that through the initial layer with a lot of gesso, and then that hardened from our last layer when we did it the day one. And so I think it's pretty well dried, pretty well. Yeah, overall I think I like it. I'll try another series about this and see where we go from here. It's always good to try new stuff as an artist. So hopefully you guys like it. I like it. Give me a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe, you can subscribe below. And I'll see you in the next painting video. Thanks for watching, guys. And if you want to see the long version, check my Patreon account.